Okay, I'm Joey, and I got my friends and co-hosts
Yeah, William.
And Dallas.
with me, and we're gonna talk about Zoo, the show on this podcast. Zoo, the show, the podcast. Episode 3, Silence of the Cicadas. The best episode by far.
Oh, yeah.
Even though there was not a single cicada.
It was lies in the title. But
so technically there was a silence from the cicada section.
That's
That's
true.
true.
Yeah, sure. That's what they meant. From now on, the titles in this show are going to be negative based. They're going to be like, no rhinos in this one.
Yeah.
It gets going. It takes a little bit to get going, but it's a
Oh my god.
wild.
Best one.
But absolutely best.
We start back in Slovenia, where last episode we had the French Secret Service.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
Chloe.
French
Chloe.
spy
Chloe
getting
recruited into this Avengers team we predicted last week. It's
yes,
coming together
yes.
this week.
Oh god, and it's beautiful.
And Gaspard.
I don't know.
We're figuring it out based on the captions, but it looks like Gaspard.
I haven't heard his name once. He's
No, it just
like
says
creepy guy.
in the captions it says
Oh,
Gaspard
okay,
says.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And he's like, let me take you and show you something. And he takes her to show her the man who was killed by a dog in the previous episode.
Yes.
And all the other people killed by dogs. And like brings her in and is like, I need you to help me on this Avengers style team that we're putting together.
And once again, he does that thing where like he's just going on and on about how smart this lady is, and she's just like, I'm not really that smart.
I
He's
don't-
like, no, you're super smart.
I don't know anything about animals. And he's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Just pretend they're people.
Yeah, pretend they're people is fine.
Shut up, pretend they're people. Let me trigger your PTSD about it being attacked by lions really
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, I showed you these bodies because you wouldn't believe me otherwise.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way.
I need to
would
show you
believe-
these rotting corpses.
I know you were attacked by lions literally like 12 hours ago, but you gotta see these to understand.
Yeah.
And then we move pretty quickly to Tokyo, where our heroes Jackson, Oz, and Abraham, their buddy like road trip.
Yeah. The only thing about this scene that stuck out to me, because it was very short, there was a lot of like quick changes in this episode. The only thing that really struck me was that Abraham was talking about like it took 2 hours to hail a cab.
Wild.
And I was like, there's a lot of cabs. So I don't know if that's like a commentary on like
Is Japanese
Racism.
cabs like
Like
very difficult to hail? Do they like have a special like thing that you need to understand? where
maybe
you,
it
like-
was because he's so big. Like maybe he couldn't fit in the cabs. Either that or it could just be what I was thinking. And that they're not very tolerant people, they're saying. Which I would take offense to if I was Japanese.
they and also Abraham's like, hey, what are we gonna get to first, business or pleasure? And he's like, essentially like all he's talked about with Japan is like, in the previous episode he's like, I love Japanese women, and in this episode he's like, are we gonna like, I mean, he doesn't say it, but like the implication is that he's like, are we gonna get laid, Jackson? Like, I know we're here to like
Kind of save the world and whatnot, but
check on your dead father's notes and stuff. But and then they find where his father was living, and there's a woman in there, and we don't know who she is, and we're like, oh, who is it? And then we don't know because they cut to the next scene
yeah.
in Los Angeles where they do these big like name tags on every place because
Yeah.
you got to know the 12 different
Yeah.
countries we're going to.
And they transition about 15 different times.
Oh my god.
So
It
all
was
these-
it was insane. Like usually it's very jarring. But in this one it was doubly so, and it might be because they knew that like there were certain ones that we don't care about. Like there's certain
Yeah.
storylines.
They're bringing it all together though, so hopefully
Yeah.
from here on out it won't be quite so like
like buddy system.
jump
That'd be
hopping
awesome.
around.
Yeah.
We go to Los Angeles where the pathologist Mitch is being mean to, I keep forgetting her name, the journalist, oh god, what is her name?
I don't even know.
I don't remember.
Just
The journalist.
Just
He's
journalist.
just like, their whole like dynamic is she says something that's either dumb or smart, and he's mean to her no matter what.
Yeah, and like the smart things she says are on accident and framed in a very dumb way. He's like,
Yeah.
He's so bored. He's so like, she's like, I need your help. We got to go to this place and like prove that Raiden is doing stuff. And he's like, we just discovered lions are psychic, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like there's no real proof, which 100%. There's no real proof.
but he's on board with the fact that lions are psychic. He's
Yeah.
like, we need proof. But he's like on board with that, and he's not like psyched out of his mind.
He's
Yeah.
not psyched. He's not worried. He's just like,
Yeah.
just one of those things.
He's just
Yeah.
high out of his mind.
Listen,
all the time.
lions have manes, they have tails, they're psychic.
Like, there are just certain things that everyone knows about lions at this point, and it's those things.
And he's like, I have classes I have to take care of, and she's like, don't you understand? This kind of discovery could get you tenure. And it's like, no, this kind of discovery is like,
This kind of discovery will get me, like, kicked out of my school.
this is
like,
world altering. Like, he's so bored, and she eventually like, does she convince him in this episode or in this
Yes.
scene? Yeah, she sort of convinces him in that scene.
And that the newspaper will pay for it, and that's probably
Oh,
why.
yeah.
Yeah.
But she's already gotten fired. at
Which
this
is a
point.
lie. Yeah,
So
she got
she's-
fired.
She's dumb and a liar.
The first time we saw her, she was getting fired, basically.
yeah,
like,
we were introduced to a failing journalist.
we pop back over to Japan, which I think is like the main story of this like thing, because we pop
Yeah.
back to it in between all the other ones. It seems like we pop back to Japan where we learn that Mitch's dad had remarried.
Or Jackson's.
Jackson's. Oh God, these people's names.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Jackson Oz's dad had remarried to this woman whose name
This,
Minako.
Minako.
I wrote it down.
It's
Okay.
good that they named her. It's good that they introduced this character, a female character, a non-white character who is going to die in
like,
approximately
5
6
minutes.
minutes
Yeah.
from being introduced.
And also that just like speaks nonsense for the entirety of what she's like.
She was like helping his father. She was like paying for him. She was his sugar mama. She bought him that otter
Yeah.
that he was playing with. And she like there's a moment where she really sort of like jabs at Jackson Oz where she's like I was with him during his breakdown. But it's it's important when you have someone you love to be with them through even the hard times, and like kind of just looks at Jackson Oz and he like
Oh boy.
like all I'm saying is you abandoned your father and he's dead now, so
Whatever.
Oh man, and then the island. She talks
Yeah.
about the island, and for some reason,
yeah,
his father called this island his Ghost of Christmas Future.
his father
Yes.
either bought or like just went to an island off the coast of Fukushima, which is full of it's radioactive, which he called it the Ghost of Christmas Future. No one's like, that's weird, right?
Yeah, that was like, that's a dumb name. Maybe he was crazy.
Oh yeah, the Ghost of Christmas Future, of course. And so they cut like midway through the scene. It's not like really bouncing away, but they're suddenly
Yeah.
in the plane going to this island.
Yeah, and that struck me as like the only time that has happened where there's like a major shift, but it's the same storyline.
Yeah.
And it was also funny because like she continues her sentence that she was saying before the shift
Yeah.
while on the plane. So
They
they
just-
just waited for 3 hours.
They discovered where they were going to on the plane,
Yeah.
even though presumably they had been together leading up until that point.
And then the big.
A few bats hit the window, and he's like, "Oh, they seem like really high." And there's like a huge swarm of bats off in the distance. He's like, "Huh, it's early in the day for this, and they seem sort of high up. I wonder if all animals are attacking all." Ah! And their plane goes down. Plane taken down by a swarm of bats, all just like suiciding into the like rudders.
And then we move to Biloxi.
Biloxi,
Yes.
which is in the South,
Yes.
The
somewhere
South.
We'll say the South to be
The
right.
South question mark?
America's
That's the
South,
section.
somewhere. I assume because it's new. I assume it's relatively near New Orleans, based on like
It must be.
like the rest of the episode, but maybe not.
But we're introduced to the best new character.
Yeah,
Yes.
Evan.
Oh, man.
Evan fucking rules.
Yeah, man. He's
Evan-
the best.
Evan's gone through the Bible and highlighted every reference to animals.
Like, he just shows up, and it's like they knew, because they held back all the death last episode.
Yeah.
But this time, so they come at us with the bats, and then immediately there's just some absolutely insane person just repeating crazy Bible verses about animals to himself.
Seemingly irrelevant. I was trying to find a
And
through thread.
Yeah.
And during a haircut, and no one responds to it.
Yeah,
He does this every time.
He's just getting his haircut talking about animals.
And so he's on death row. He's going to be killed tomorrow. The warden pulls him in and is like, "Hey, I want you to go and I want you to tell the widow that like you did. I want you like to give the widow closure." And he's like, I'm not gonna do that. And while he's saying that he's not gonna do that, we get a sick shot of his waist where we see that he has a chain belt. For some reason, he has which is something that I don't think you would give to a death row.
No.
I guess maybe it's part of his handcuffs, but it doesn't look like that. It just looks like he has a sick chain wallet.
Yeah,
He got it at Hot Topic.
And then he looks out the window, and there's just a wolf in the prison yard.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he says, "I'm not going to do this," and then he sees the wolf, and he's like, "Oh,
Actually,
wait, I have a plan."
Mhm.
somehow he
My
knows
buddies are here.
the right thing to do. Oh, maybe he's so crazy because the animals are
Maybe he's
telepathically
psychically talking to the wolf. That would be very good, and it would
That
make
would be
sense
sick.
for
That has to
everything.
be it.
That's the
Yeah.
only possible solution.
Oh man, I just cracked this whole thing.
That's gotta be it. So he's like, "Yeah, I'll talk to the widow. Sure, I'm beyond mercy."
Yeah,
By the way,
just very strange wording from him the whole way through.
and then shipwrecked on an island.
Yes.
We go back to Jackson Oz and Abraham
And they just
and
start,
Minako,
yeah,
Minako, who
and
is
they just start beating her chest bones into
Yeah.
her body.
Minako is unconscious, and they kill her with their bad CPR.
Yeah, it's just
Pretty much.
incredible. One thing I learned in nursing school. It's like, they never do CPR right.
They kill-
15 pushes, and then 2 breaths, and then repeats.
And Jackson sort of stumbles up. Abraham's doing it, and Jackson sort of stands over her and is like, kind of takes a minute, and then is like, "Wait, is she breathing?" And he's like, "No." And Jackson's like, "Oh crap!" And starts doing CPR himself after she's definitely dead.
Yeah, Abraham has to physically push him off of this woman's body.
And it's like I mean she was introduced 5 minutes ago, maybe.
Yeah.
She was just introduced to be like, "Here's what your dad did in this island. Anyway, it's time to die."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they already have a black main character. They don't have to have any other kind of diversity.
Zero other.
This was before 2015 probably.
And that's really all there is to that scene. They're stuck on
Yeah.
a beach.
It's very strange.
Let's go find the place then.
Yeah, and then it's 3 kilometers, which isn't.
It's
not
3
bad.
kilometers. It's like a mile,
Mile and a half.
Yeah.
something like that.
1.25 or so.
So they should be able to see this place from where they're standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we pop back over to Slovenia for a real quick thing of Chloe and Gaspard going to the dark alleyway where the sort of kill room for the dogs.
Yeah, and she's still trying to talk her way out of the
Yeah,
situation.
she's really trying to be like, "I am not the person you want for this," and he's like, "No, you are. Shut the fuck up.
It's like, stop.
You're in." She's trying to get out of this TV show.
Just take the compliment, lady.
Smile.
Oh no!
Imagine the animals are people, and she's like, well,
If they're
if they're people, then the only thing I could think of is they're honing their skills.
They're practicing, which is not a thing I've ever heard of a person doing
Yeah.
in terms of their killing. I
That's
guess
true.
I would describe that as a serial killer.
Yeah.
Rather than saying they're honing their skills, like all murderers do.
Mm.
But
Oh.
in her defense, if I was in this situation, I would be like, these animals are serial killers. But in my head, I'd be like, no, that sounds dumb.
I gotta.
These
Yeah.
animals are honing their skills.
On tourists as well.
Yeah, tourists. So, like, they had it planned. So, like, the least likely to get caught way, too, which is incredible.
And so they have their sort of moment. We go back to New Orleans. Well, we go to New Orleans for the first time. The journalist and the pathologist are in New Orleans to talk to a senator who's going to help her sue Raiden.
Yeah.
And it is at this point that the journalist reveals to Mitch that she has no money. She was fired, like, long ago.
I wouldn't say revealed as much as
Got caught.
got backed
caught.
into a corner and caught. And then, like, tries to flounder into, like, coercing him to still...
Nobel
like,
Prize
with
this
her.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she goes up from tenure to like, this could win you the Nobel Prize. And he's like, are you sure? And she's like, well, maybe not the Nobel Prize, but you know, like a good prize for nerds.
You feel good.
A nerd prize.
You'll like that, right?
You know.
And he's like, oh, I guess, all right.
Back to prison.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we go back to the prison. There is like the island scene again, but we already sort of covered what was in it. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
them on the beach being like, oh, those bats were crazy. Time to go find that thing.
Then, like, they made a comment about Abe's past or something. He's like, that's why I don't talk about my past. Which is a very, like, ham-fisted way
Yeah.
to, like, introduce a later plot line.
That Abraham like killed a man in Reno.
Yeah!
Probably.
Then we go back. Yeah, we go back to Evan Lee. I'm not Evan Lee. That's his name. Yeah. I'm not even like interested in the Evan Lee is what this is.
Oh, yeah.
Evan's just talking about his Bible. Like that's really all this scene is.
Yeah.
Is him doing his Bible spiel
Yeah.
and like just hanging out. in
Becoming
his-
the arch villain.
Yeah, it's just him like just all like they're just hyping us up. Like they specifically this is for like the three of us to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, Evan.
And, like, it's crazy because it starts out and you're like, oh, who's this weird guy? And then as it goes on, you're like, oh, man, this guy's got something.
this guy's got star potential.
He had a great casting.
This guy's got some real chutzpah on him.
So Evan Lee's in prison talking about the Bible, and we go back to the island. Oh yeah, there are a lot of short scenes on the island that don't really accomplish anything. This is actually the scene where Abraham's like you know, I used to.
I would guess he had been a poacher.
Yeah,
That has to be
that's-
it. Some
Ooh,
animal
yeah, maybe
cruelty thing.
poacher, or
Mhm.
maybe he was like some kind of lion.
That's why they got him and spared him.
Yeah.
We go. Yeah, they just talk about like, what if animals are smart? Still, like this is still happening, and this
Yeah.
is my major complaint about this episode. Is there are a lot of scenes where people are just like, but could it be that the animals are working together? Like,
Yeah.
And like they already know, factually, every single person involved with this convoluted storyline can understand at this point that they're working together.
I think they just need to say that each pretty much in between commercial breaks, so if people just drop in,
they're like,
like,
oh, this is what's
okay.
going on. In
So
this
that must
one.
be what's happening.
Good old network television.
Yeah.
We
I
pop-
can't wait for the Netflix remake.
Yeah. Yes. I am so. Ooh, I hope so.
With like Bradley Cooper.
Be amazing. We go back to New Orleans long enough to find out the specifics of why the journalist is like angry about.
Finally.
She like her hometown was destroyed. Like a lot of people in her hometown got cancer because of Raiden. They couldn't fight it because Raiden's like a big company and you can't fight big companies. They just hire lawyers. And the pathologist reveals that his family hates him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they bond together over the fact that his family hates him and her family is dead.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, she asked him about his family, and like that is the moment I most fear in my life. Is like someone just told me something really sad about their life, and then they asked me about the same thing, and I have like a very like, you know.
We got some presents for Christmas.
it's
Not a lot.
it
Like
was
I asked for Digimon, but they gave me Pokemon, so I don't really.
I don't talk to them so much anymore.
Yeah. Okay, and then this is where it really amps up. This was the pivot point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the island. There's this like shack. You wouldn't think that it's a lab, but apparently, you know, who knows. And then even when you get inside, it's just kind of like a cabin.
It's a shack filled with like bottles, filled with something that you're about to reveal.
Yes. Some horses come out, and I'm thinking...
This horse is about to fucking destroy this man.
this horse is... Because it's a big horse.
All horses are like... It's not until you're like looking at a horse that you're like, oh no!
Yeah, like... This is a giant dude. And then he gets closer, and is like, oh... I guess this horse just doesn't have eyes.
And then second horse comes out who doesn't have eyes also. 2 horses with their eyes removed. Not like naturally.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Taken out.
It was bad to look at.
Yeah, it was really... This was the point that got me on the show.
Oh, man.
On the show's bandwagon, for sure.
It was awful to look at and think about.
Maybe the show's turning more into Hannibal.
I don't.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's thrown me for a loop.
It's wild because I wrote down like I had this scene and I just wrote down island horse eyeless horses, and that's all that really happens in that scene. Is they're like, what?
And the horses walk away from them.
Yeah, and they're like, and you had the point that this is probably a metaphor for them because one of the horses is black and one is brown.
Yeah, one's like the same kind of shade of brown as Jackson's hair and stuff.
Yeah, so it probably
going in blind.
Yeah, they don't know what's happening. Anyway, we pop back over to New Orleans, like for like what is a very uninteresting thing to me now. Like I just want to get back to the island and find out more about
like
this eyeless horse.
Everything is on the back burner other than those horses.
Yeah.
We go to New Orleans where they talk to the senator, and he's like, they go in and he has a big moose head on his door, on his wall, and he's like, I love killing animals, it's great.
Got to have my 40th birthday.
And they reveal that lions are psychic and Raiden caused it, and he's like, oh man, I'm kind of done fighting Raiden.
Yeah, he's
too powerful.
It's
that was literally his wording. They're too powerful.
It's too hard.
Like it's some ancient evil.
And
then he makes like an offhand comment.
Yeah, he's like, knowing when to give up is the difference between proud and pathetic. And like he doesn't say it, but like in his eyes you can see he's like, and you? You're fucking pathetic. And then as they're leaving, Mitch comes back and he's like, I gotta defend this person who I guess they're friends. Like, I guess like they've been together long enough that we're supposed to be like, they're friends now, even though they're...
it was probably the comment that we forgot to talk about in the grave scene. Where he's like, I'm an acquired taste. And she's like, only at the beginning, then you kind of come through. And then we're all like, that's what an acquired taste is. Like, what are you talking about, lady? How are you a journalist?
So Mitch defends his friend by being like, in college, my thesis for my degree was the correlation between dick size and animals on your like wall. And it's like, I think that I probably just a jab, but they shouldn't have given you that degree if that's
It's an academic joke.
It's a real slam on this guy, and it's essentially the equivalent of me like walking out of a room being like, hey, your dick's small. Boom! Mm-hmm. And everyone cheers.
Bazinga.
Got it. Back to the island. They discover like they're in the cabin. They find a bunch of horse eyes.
Yeah.
Jackson's like, what if my dad came here because of the radiation, because it's making these animals mutate, because like it's the same rules as like Spider-Man. Like this radiation is making these animals more powerful. And they see a projection of a horse attacking a lady.
Oh yeah, and it's the same horse.
Yeah.
Like it's the same horses that they show.
Except with eyes.
Yes, with eyes, and also I guess with the crazy like eye thing that the lions have.
They're like this has the defiant pupil, this thing they occasionally reference. But it's like I don't know what a normal horse's eyes look like.
It looked like a horse's eyes.
So we get that scene.
Oh, and then I think this was this scene where they're like going back and forth, and then he comes up with the epiphany that, like, what if the animals are all smart now and they're working together?
That's the next scene with him, yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's essentially, we can skip over it later because all it is Abraham is doing like trying to like go through his dad's notes, and Jackson's just like looking at the projector and is just like, I've had an epiphany.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, but how do I read these notes? Don't forget the notes.
Forget the notes.
What if they're smart and they're coming after us? And they can only be stopped by removing their eyes.
Yeah, so we...
And then he's like, well, we can't remove all the eyes of all the animals in the world.
Jackson looks really dejected.
He looks really so disappointed at the fact.
No, yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's like, only a crazy person would
That's, yeah.
would think that.
So we go back to New Orleans, where they're getting trashed at a bar, and the journalist has given up. She walks away, and Gaspard arrives to recruit Mitch into our like super force.
Yes.
And Mitch is like, hell yeah, I'm on board, but you gotta bring her too. And
you gotta bring this just worthless sack of empty weight with us.
And he's like, no argument, whatever, fine. This isn't that secret. Back to Evan, who is looking creepy.
As always.
And he's led to the thing. He goes and he talks to the wife.
Oh my god.
In one of the most like so cruel. She's like, tell me the truth. And he's like tells her essentially he's like on the animal side. He's like, he attacked her husband because he was hunting.
Yeah, and he like goes into how easy it was because he was slower than the
rest of he's like really like slams on her husband too. He's like, and your husband was the real like run of the litter, you know?
And, like he keeps calling her Miss, and she's like, it's Mrs.
And then right at the end,
he's
right like, is it Mrs.?
He's like, is it still Mrs. though?
Because I thought I removed the Mrs. when I removed your husband's heart.
Oh, bam, bam.
So
Evan.
So evil and melodramatic, and oh man,
like that is and I didn't think they had it in them. Like this whole time, the writing on this show, I was like, there's no way it can be like super good consistently. But I think with his character, we're gonna see that they've been saving the good writing for the villain.
I think just like leaning into the melodrama is like a good call for the show. Yes. I think like leaning into the wild and crazy, because it's not like, I don't want realistic dialogue about like a rhino like spearing a man through.
Yeah.
I want flowery shit. So there's the scene on the island where Jackson's like, what if the animals are smart? Just gonna skip over that. Go back to New Orleans again very quickly, where not New Orleans, sorry. Back to the prison briefly, where they put Evan into his little like field. Yeah,
his little cage strip of walkway.
And he's like, what'd you order for your last meal? And I'm like, fish sticks.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to, I don't know, like he said, like that was the scene.
Yeah.
That was all that scene was like the guard being like, can't wait to see you die. What'd you have for dinner? Fish sticks. And like, then it cuts away like that was a big moment. Some guy was just real hyped on fish sticks that week in the writer's room. We go back to the island where Jackson Oz, like, suddenly, it's quiet. And it's because the radiation.
Yeah.
I wonder if cicadas have something to do with radiation. I wonder if that's the thing behind silence of the cicadas. If, like, it kills them off in some way that is known. But they're like, it's suddenly quiet, and it's because of their radiation meter. That's sort of like fallen to the back of our minds. It doesn't seem that actually dangerous.
They don't know how to read it. They're just like, green means go, red means no.
Yeah. Does red mean bad?
And they're like, oh fuck, we're gonna die because of radiation. And they hear a helicopter overhead, and they go running through the woods, and there's a scene of them running through the woods. And then who is there? Gaspard! Somehow!
He comes and gets them. It's like a quick... He's pick up and gone.
He's traveled from New Orleans to Japan
in the nick of time.
Yeah.
And he pulls them onto the helicopter, and that's how they get
away.
They would get recruited. The whole squad's together in Tokyo. We finally got the boys are back in town.
Yeah. They connect some dots and decide maybe we should do something, and then we should go to the prison
Yeah.
That's actually important.
Now this next sequence is the greatest
God.
thing this show has ever done, and one of my favorite scenes of television.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
cutting back and forth
It's
between
brilliant.
the generally kind of boring them in Tokyo revealing like Chloe is there, and they're like, look at all these animal attacks, and essentially all it is them having the same conversation we've been having the whole show of animals are smart now, but like
Except
so
with
that's
this, like nondescript group.
that's intercut in this like together. They're all together. They're all gonna work together. It's great. In the meantime, we go back at the prison, and the woman is leaving. She's in a huff. She's very angry about what's happened, and she gets in the car and like drives away, and the warden's like, huh. Oh, it's why you gotta go and get yourself killed when like
Your wife's hot.
You got a fine piece of ass, and like it's like, oh good, he's sexist. We can watch him. Get him home.
They had to set that up. They had to make sure because he's a warden. Like generally, we want to assume that our prison system is just. But now that he's made that comment, we can watch a wolf tear into his flesh.
This wolf that we're sort of like, is this a hallucination? We don't know. Comes out of nowhere and just like you see him running up, and you see the warden like, oh, nowhere to go. And it just getting mauled, and the guards like presses the alarm and opens the door to try and help the warden. And
instead of getting a gun, like why don't you have guns?
A mistake, because like 6 other wolves come running over the hill, like, got him, idiots!
Like they tricked them into opening the gate. Literally tricked them.
The wolves come like running in and just like start mauling guards. Guards are like seeing them and are like, gun? No, and turn and run.
Yeah, it's like a Benny Hill old school Scooby-Doo chase type situation.
A wolf leaps on top of a prisoner in the kitchen, setting off like a gas fire.
Yes.
And like just mauling a prisoner in the middle of a fire.
Then the fire somehow like
opens all
the cell doors.
Yeah,
and the prisoners are like, no, no.
They're electric though. They can't close them. Just getting mauled and like destroyed. And oh my god, it was amazing. It was so good. And then it goes outside to like Evan, who's just staring at this one wolf and like yes, good. And the prison's on fire, and we pan back up away and credits.
Yes.
And it was the best episode so far. And if it keeps up this pace, I'm very, very excited to
It's made everything worth it.
Yeah, it's been kind of a trudge to
There's
this
been
point.
some challenging content.
Yes, it's legitimately been like something that I'm like, I don't know.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I want to even watch the rest of that to make fun of it. But then this redeemed it entirely.
So I gotta heart out. I gotta get going. So we should do our what's our top animal attack so far?
All the wolves.
All the wolves.
100%.
I think like that is going to be a hard thing. That's going to be the champion for a while. Is the wolves doing a prison break?
Although the bats really got me. I was pumped when I saw it.
It was very strong.
That was a strong beginning opener.
Okay, so what animals do we want to see killing a person, and in what way? Coming up.
Well, it already talked about bears killing a bunch of children on a playground.
So you'd really like to just see a fleshing out of...
Yeah, I hope there's like a reenactment that they put together at that point.
Yeah.
Like they put together a school play of these kids getting mauled.
I just kind of want to see like a diver out like in the waters around Japan. I want like they have to go underwater to recover something or something like that. And I just want to see like a man be eaten whole by a large tuna.
Oh yeah,
sliding over him slowly, and then he just swims away. And Jackson's like, no.
I want to see
starfish.
Starfish would be awesome.
It just latches onto his face.
And then he falls off the side of the boat and into the rudder.
Yes.
Or into the motor.
Yeah. I want to see squirrels very poorly bury someone alive.
Yes. Because I gotta find him later.
Yeah.